Hi everyone and welcome to Sabonis. Today I'm going to show you how to make a delicious beef empanada. But have you ever wondered where empanadas come from or who invented them? The word empanada comes from the Spanish verb empanar, which means to wrap in bread or dough. Their origin goes way back to the Middle East, where Greeks and Persians were already preparing. The Arabs brought this technique to the Iberian Peninsula, and from Spain it traveled for the Americas in the 16th century. Over the time, the empanada evolved adapting to local ingredients, becoming a versatile dish, sweet or savory, fried or baked, and a true cultural symbol in many countries, especially in Argentina, Chile, Peru, and Spain. But honestly, all of Latin America has its own incredible versions of empanadas. Interesting, right? So let's get cooking, and please enjoy this video, and at the end I will give you a recap of all ingredients so you can write them down. In this bowl, I have 500 grams of sifted all-purpose flour. To that, I'm adding 3 grams of baking powder. Mix it lightly. And now let's add the fats. 100 grams of vegetable charcuterie and 100 grams of butter. Please don't use margarine or butter substitutes. Real cow's butter is what makes the dough excellent. Now let's mix it in. Personally, I like to use this pastry blender because it keeps the butter cold longer before it melts from the warmth of my hands. We are going to mix until we reach what's called the sandy texture. As the name says, the flour will start looking like sand. Once we are there, we prepare the wet mix. That's 1 whole egg plus 1 extra yolk, 50 grams of sugar, 5 grams of salt, and 100 milliliters of cold water. Mix them all together. Then pour it into the center of our flour sand. Now we mix gently until bigger crumbs form and the dough starts asking to be worked by hand. I don't want to knead this dough because that will develop gluten and make it tough. I only want to bring the ingredients together. So I press it with my knuckles, turn it, scrape the bowl, gather the bits stuck to my fingers, and little by little, it all comes together into one smooth dough. Now we cover it well with plastic wrap, so it doesn't dry out or form a crust. And we let it rest in the refrigerator while we prepare the filling. For the filling, we are going to use the traditional aderezo technique, cooking down the base slowly to build flavor. Heat some vegetable oil in a pan, just enough to lightly cover the surface. Here I have 400 grams of ground beef. We are going to brown it first to release its natural flavor. When the oil gets hot and starts to show thin lines of smoke, in goes the beef. Let it release its juices, caramelize a little, and develop flavor. Now, keep the same bowl you had the raw beef in. We are going to reuse it when the beef goes back to the pan later, so no problem. Once the meat has released its juices, remove it back to the bowl. Now, in the same oil, full of flavor, we are going to saute 400 grams of finely diced red onion, what chefs call a brunoise cut. Let the onion soften, lose some water, and start to absorb that beef flavor. While the onions cooks down, do not forget to subscribe to this channel if you haven't yet, and give me a like. That really helps me a lot to keep sharing Italian and Peruvian recipes and tips with you. Back to the pan. Once the onion starts to soften, add 1 yellow chili pepper, seeded and diced. We want the chili to cook down really well. Add a pinch of salt to help the onion release its water. When the onion turns translucent, add 4 grams of minced or grated garlic. Keep cooking until the mix thickens into a paste. Now, return the beef to the pan. Time for the Nonna Saboni special touch. 8 grams of ají panca paste. Boom! You can find this paste at Latin groceries stores, just like the yellow chili pepper. Important, don't use jarred ají amarillo paste. It's too spicy. Here we are using fresh or frozen yellow chili with no seeds or veins. So it gives flavor, not heat. Now add 4 grams of cumin and 4 grams of oregano. Check the salt. Remember, always taste. Once it's seasoned, turn off the heat and sprinkle in some finely chopped parsley and cilantro. The herbs will brighten the flavor. Transfer it all to a bowl and set it aside. Now, let's assemble the empanadas. Here I have some raisins. They are very small raisins, but that is the size here, unlike in some places such as Peru, where we find huge raisins. I will soak them in a warm water so they don't dry out inside the empanada and steal moisture from the filling. I also have some black olives and 3 hard-boiled eggs cut into quarters. Let's make 1 empanada for demonstration. Cut off a quarter of the dough. Roll it lightly. Don't knead, just shape it into a ball. Start rolling it out thin, about 1/16 of an inch. Traditional empanadas are usually medium size, around 6 inches. But for those who know the Sabonis empanadas, they know that ours are especially big and generously filled. For those, we use this 8-inch stainless steel cutter. Once baked, our empanadas end up about 7 inches wide, filled with 50 grams of beef mixture, enough to replace a full meal. For you at home, this dough makes about 12 medium empanadas. Now let's fill it. Start with a quarter of a hard-boiled egg, then 1 black olive, a few soaked raisins, and finally about 50 grams of the filling. Brush one edge of the dough with water so it seals well. Dry your hand before folding to avoid sticking. Fold the dough over and press gently. Remove air pockets and seal the edges. Now the empanada is technically sealed, but to be sure we are going to make the braided edge, the classic repulgue. Follow the natural curve of the empanada as your guide. Fold and twist the edge over itself. If needed, apply a little touch of water to help the braided edge glue. With practice, it becomes faster, easier, and thinner. Place the empanada on a baking sheet lined with parchment paper. Brush with a mix of egg and a splash of milk. And bake at 420 degrees Fahrenheit for 25 minutes. After 25 minutes, remove the empanada and let it rest on a rack for a few minutes, so the base doesn't get wet from the heat. For presentation, optional of course, I serve it with some Peruvian Creole pickled onions, called cebollita criolla, and few lime wedges. Now, the classic beef empanada, Peruvian style, with the snowy look of powdered sugar. And there it is, our beef empanada. Now, let's taste it. Soft, delicious, powerful flavor. Ingredients recap for 12 medium empanadas. For the dough, 500 grams of all-purpose flour, 3 grams of baking powder, 100 grams of vegetable shortening, 100 grams unsalted butter, 100 milliliters of cold water, 50 grams of sugar, 5 grams salt, 1 egg yolk, and 1 whole egg. For the filling, 400 grams ground beef, 400 grams diced red onion, 8 grams ají panca paste, 1 yellow chili pepper, 4 grams minced garlic, 4 grams cumin, 4 grams oregano, 10 grams vegetable oil, fresh chopped parsley, fresh chopped cilantro, 3 hard-boiled eggs, 12 black olives, 50 grams raisins, salt and pepper to taste. I hope you enjoyed this recipe and that you make these empanadas at home. Do not forget to leave me a comment and tell me how yours turned out. You can ask me any question or suggest a recipe you'd like me to make for you. So, see you in the next video, and remember what Nonna Savoni always said: cooking at home is a way to take care of your loved ones without saying any single word. Arrivederci!